Kurtieva Lira. Born in 1940. We lived in Nizhnogorsky Rayon, in the village of Nogacha, Akhmet. I do not remember how we were evicted. I was little. How we got on the train, I do not remember either. In the train itself, I remember only one moment. There were 6 of us children and parents. 2 sisters there got sick and died. Should I speak in Crimean Tatar? Speak Crimean Tatar. And only 4 of us left. When we were evicted, our older brother was 10 years old. The second oldest sister was born in 1937. She died. Then the younger sister. She was born in 1942. When we were going, the train stopped. At the stops, everyone went down and prepared food. Mom, Dad, and brother got out of the wagon. And we, the younger ones, were sitting in the wagon. We were never allowed to get out. My brother collected firewood. And Mom and Dad cooked food in the cauldron. And one woman said, "Come on, Tsever Sultan," she said. My mother's name was Tsever Sultan, and my father's name was Azmi. "Come on, sit down, here you can cook food," she said. There, my mother sat down and prepared soup, baked scones. When my mother cooked something, my brother saw one woman roasting corn, and said, "Oh, she's roasting corn, but we don't have any corn." My brother was upset. And that woman said, "Oh, come, take your hat and come here, I will give you some corn." My brother brought in a hat some corn, and my mother started to fry it in a frying pan. It turned out that in the place where she was roasting some corn, in the grass there was a mine. This mine, while my mother was frying corn, exploded. It exploded and injured 13 people. Mom and Dad were brought on a stretcher. I remember it. They brought her in on a stretcher, and my mother fainted. Her hand was shattered. A shard touched my mother's hand. Dad's hand was also grazed, but not much. This middle finger doesn't grow anymore. There were 3 of them. Suleiman Aga was with them, and another woman was taken away. We are in the carriage, and they were taken to Stalingrad. Our mother and 2 other people were left there. My mother lost a lot of blood. Her arm was lifted up and tied up like this. Dad and brother were returned. "It's wartime. Why do you bring people with such light wounds?" they said. Then my dad and my brother. If it hadn't been for Dad, we would have died. From carriage to carriage, in different wagons, he was looking for us, and in the end, Dad and brother found us. We were sitting together, then Dad went somewhere, entrusting us to other people, look after them. I remember that moment. Then Mom stays in Stalingrad, and we leave. Daddy is catching up with us. We arrived and got to Shakrasabs. We got to Sharasabs and lived there in 1944, 1945, and 1946. Dad worked as an agronomist in Crimea. he studied at the institute. My mother was not with us, she was in Stalingrad. We, for children, did not die on the road. We are not dead. I don't remember who died on the train. I was little. We came to Charysabs and lived there. We were given a small house. Dad had a cousin. He took her with him. She had 2 children, Ismet and Denislam. There were jackals. They howled, came close and howled, and in the morning found the dead. Denislam died. Father's cousin Naki died. Only Ismet left. He was small, and father gave him to the orphanage. He is now dead. But when he was alive in Uzbekistan, he came to Namangan in Uzbekistan. Then we lived there, Mom. One woman came and said, Azmi, the mother of your children came there. She was sitting near the market and said, Tell the father of my children to bring the cart. There were no cars there at that time. She said, Tell him to bring the cart and take me away from here. Dad took the cart and went, but he did not recognize her. When there was an explosion, her whole body, her whole face became like coal, shrapnel hit. Mom was shaved. One arm was missing, amputated from here. Her right hand was missing. It was cut off so that there was no infection, because she was lying down for a long time, lying down for 2 to 3 days. In general, from here it was cut. I do not know how, but we were left without a roof. We stayed on the street at that moment. There was nothing there. There was a big, large mulberry tree, huge, like a sycamore tree. We sat under it. We didn't have anything overhead, but there wasn't much rain in Uzbekistan. That's where we lived. There were trenches in that place. We went and played in the trenches. Then parents and brother, despite the fact that he was still a boy, found an opportunity and somehow made the roof. We settled there again. But my mother began to say that her brothers live in Namangan in the Vichy district, and she does not see them at all. One of her brothers, my uncle, worked as an accountant. We somehow found out his address, and my mother wrote to him, I will not see you, and I will die. Take me away. Take us away from here somewhere. Then, after making a call, my uncle arrived. He came and picked us up at the Namangan region, Vichy district. In Vichy district, they were placed in the house of an Uzbek man. And us, brother, sister, I was given to the orphanage. There it was near. We were in an orphanage. Little sister, she was born in 1942. She was very young. She was not taken. She stayed with her parents. Dad got a job in the district, worked there as a security guard. There was no security guard. He worked as an inspector. He collected reports from teachers. Mom started to have severe pains in Uzbekistan. We were told that we have to move, that the climate is not suitable. We have to change the climate. We didn't know where Dad's family was at the time. Dad's brother's family, when we were deported from Crimea, they stayed there. Their son was sick with typhus. They were left for 40 days. 40 days later, they were evicted to the Urals. We did not know that they were in the Urals. We could not take my mother out. She was in a hospital. There in 1949, in July, my mother died. We grew up, left the orphanage. I went to school in 1947. I didn't speak Russian or Uzbek. Then we were lined up like this. In September we went to school, we were given textbooks. And we couldn't even say that we were going to a Russian school because we didn't speak Russian. We spoke only Crimean Tatar. We were given books in Uzbek, lined us up, and took us to an Uzbek school. I studied at an Uzbek school for 10 years. Then I went to college and became a nurse. I worked as a nurse for 35 years. I got married and we have 5 children. 4 daughters, and here is a son. In 1990, my son Leonard came here. He collected ads. And here somewhere he stood in line on the grip. He called for his father, but he did not agree. Everyone said, "Are you going to take land without permission?" Then, in the end, he agreed. In 1990, in July, Rezhat came here, his father. They came here and took this land. In 1990, we were registered here. And in 1992, we came too. My daughter and I were there. She studied at the conservatory in Tashkent, the younger one. All 3 daughters got married and moved to Crimea. And where is Crimea? I did not know. It seemed to me that Crimea is a beautiful place. And beautiful, the best and the most beautiful. But when Rezhat decided to come here alone, there was nothing he could do. The father, me, him, and the youngest daughter Elzara, the rest are married. She was cooking food, and we were building something. In October, we moved into this 2-room house. I didn't have a dream. Because we went through too many trials as children. I had only one dream. I used to say, if I had just laid down, I would have died and not woken up. This is how we suffered.